On December 5, 1872, a ship was found drifting alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Her sails were set, her cargo was untouched. There was food, water, and personal belongings still aboard. But every single person who had been on that ship was gone. No struggle, no bodies, no distress signal. 10 people had simply vanished, and the ship sailed on without them. More than 150 years later, we still don't know what happened. This is the mystery of the Mary Celeste. It begins a month earlier in New York Harbor. On November 7th, 1872, a merchant ship called the Mary Celeste prepared to cross the Atlantic, bound for Genoa, Italy. In her hold sat 1,701 barrels of raw industrial alcohol, a cargo that would matter far more than anyone realized. Her captain was a man named Benjamin Briggs. By every account, Briggs was careful, sober, and deeply experienced. Not the kind of man to panic, and not the kind of man to make reckless mistakes. He trusted this voyage enough to bring his family with him, his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. Including the captain's family, 10 souls set sail that day. 7 crew, chosen for their reputation as steady, reliable sailors. None of them would ever be seen again. For nearly a month, the Atlantic swallowed them in silence. Then, on December 5th, the crew of another ship, the Dei Gratia, spotted a vessel in the distance moving strangely. It was drifting, swaying, its sails set in a confused, uneven way, as if no hand were guiding it. They watched it for 2 hours. No one appeared on deck. No one answered their signals, almost whispering. Something was wrong. A small boarding party rowed across and climbed aboard. What they found has puzzled investigators ever since. The ship was, in their words, a wet mess, but it was still seaworthy. It was not sinking. The cargo of alcohol was almost entirely intact. There was a 6-month supply of food and fresh water still on board. The crew's personal possessions, clothing, pipes, valuables, were undisturbed, exactly where you'd expect them. And yet, there was no one there, not a single living person. The captain was gone. His wife was gone. Their little girl was gone. The entire crew, gone. There was no sign of violence anywhere. No blood. No damage from a struggle. Nothing taken. It was as if 10 people had stepped off the edge of the world and left everything behind. But they did leave clues. 3 of them. First, the ship's only lifeboat was missing. It hadn't been torn away by a storm. The evidence suggested it had been deliberately launched. Whatever happened, these people chose to get into that small boat and leave a perfectly floating ship behind. Second, the navigation instruments and the ship's papers were gone. The sextant, the chronometer, the cargo documents, the exact things a captain would grab if he were abandoning ship in a careful, deliberate way. This wasn't blind panic. Someone made a decision. Third, there were several feet of water in the hold, and one of the ship's pumps had been taken apart. To the crew of the Dei Gratia, it looked like the people aboard believed the ship was about to sink. They were wrong. It didn't. So what could make 10 experienced people abandon a safe ship in the middle of the ocean? Over a century and a half, the theories have piled up. Serious. The first explanation people reach for is the darkest one: piracy or mutiny. Maybe the crew turned on the captain, maybe attackers boarded. But this falls apart almost immediately. Pirates don't leave 1,700 barrels of valuable cargo behind. Mutineers don't leave the captain's wife's jewelry untouched. There was no blood, nothing missing. Whatever happened here, it wasn't violence. The second theory was money. The ship's owners, an insurance scam, a planned disappearance. This one collapsed too. The numbers didn't work, and a court investigation in Gibraltar which started out deeply suspicious, found no evidence of fraud at all. They simply couldn't explain it. Then come the stranger ideas, a sudden, violent waterspout that terrified the crew, an undersea earthquake that shook the ship so hard they feared it would break apart. These are possible. The ocean is capable of things we rarely see. But there's no proof, only the silence the Mary Celeste left behind. And then there is the theory most experts today consider the most likely. And it comes back to that cargo, the 1,700 barrels of raw alcohol. When the ship was recovered, 9 of those barrels were found empty. The leading idea is this: alcohol vapor leaked and built up below deck. Perhaps a rumble, a sudden release of fumes through a hatch convinced Captain Briggs that his ship was about to explode beneath his family's feet. So he made a desperate, reasonable choice. He gathered everyone into the lifeboat. He kept it tied to the ship by a rope, close enough to climb back aboard once the danger passed, far enough to survive a blast. But the explosion never came, and before they could return, the rope failed. A gust of wind, a turn of the current, and the Mary Celeste began to sail away from them. Faster than 10 people could row a small open boat. Picture it, a tiny lifeboat, a mother holding her 2-year-old daughter, watching their ship, their food, their water, their only shelter, pull away across an empty sea, and no land for hundreds of miles in any direction. If that is what happened, the Mary Celeste didn't kill them. It outlived them. It sailed on, perfectly fine for days, while the people who abandoned her were lost to the Atlantic. But here is the truth. We don't actually know. The empty barrel theory is the best guess we have, not a proven answer. No lifeboat was ever found. No bodies were ever recovered. Not one of the 10 people aboard the Mary Celeste was ever seen again. The ship herself sailed for another 12 years under different owners, until she was deliberately wrecked in an insurance scam, as if the bad luck never left her. So, what really happened in those final hours aboard the Mary Celeste? What did Captain Briggs see or hear or fear that made him take his wife and his little girl off a ship that refused to sink? We will probably never know. And maybe that's why, a century and a half later, we're still asking. If mysteries like this one keep you up at night, this is the place for them. The Vanished Files, a new case every week.